Okay, and we're back. This is like the third attempt at trying to make number 35, third time's a charm, I guess. Had a lot of crashes and weird glitches with OBS. I mean, some days it's just like you're gonna run into a lot of weird problems. Some of my more woo-woo friends would be like, oh, it's just Mercury in retrograde, or, you know, whatever excuse to explain the nonsense, you know, problems that just sort of crop up every now and then. So I wanted to bust out the sequencer. That was kind of where I was going with this particular sketch. I haven't used it in a while, but it's something that I have really enjoyed to use in the past. I like it because it has this random feature and this probability section built in. And it's, you know, stuff that will be more built in, I think, to MIDI clips in Live 11. Really excited to play with those when that comes out. So, okay, let's go ahead and just, I'm going to, instead of making MIDI notes today, just let the sequencer kind of do the work. And we've got that classic sequencer, you know, preset scale or whatever. We can try to play with some other scales also. If we add more probability, we'll be able to sort of hear what this scale is doing. Very, very basic right there. Some of these scales are just downright, you know, funky. And I do wish we could just sort of switch between these. I could make a group where I've got a bunch of different scales going on all at the same time. Let me just, okay, make sure we save this. I forget to save a lot and sort of rely on Ableton to be reliable. But one thing I found with this sketch project is that there are a lot of bugs yet in Ableton, and especially in 10. I feel like I get more crashes in 10 than I did in 9. When 9 was at the very end there, 9.77. So go figure, new features equals a lot of new bugs. So let's just get back to the sound. Sounds very, very basic and computery. I think we could stand to put some effects on there and just sort of start mashing it up a little bit. No reason not to use a ton of effects, honestly. The more the merrier, I say. I know a lot of people are really hesitant. And I say just dive in and start dropping tons of effects. Start thinking of odd ideas, you know, like what would happen if we had 12 grain delays, and just get a sense of like what things do what. Be playful, you know. It's like a playground. You can do anything you want. Should be no reason not to try new things. I think it's a kind of mindset people have to get themselves into, where they're just sort of thinking of trying new things, and that usually, you know, I don't think you get those ideas typically until you're just in there, getting your hands dirty, moving a lot of things around, making mistakes, getting frustrated because you didn't get to that sound you had in your head. And I swear that's such a huge part of getting good as an artist, is learning to mitigate that. Not beating oneself up too much for not, you know, getting to exactly that point, you know, sort of relinquishing control. And being okay with starting out in one direction and ending up in a whole other direction. and not pressuring oneself too much to get to the top or whatever pinnacle, you know, goal you set out for yourself. It should be fun. It shouldn't be a job. Jobs are, you know, I think do instill a lot of that sense of maybe guilt or something that we impose upon ourselves when we don't hit the mark. It's crock-a-mental bullshit. I somehow have been able to, for the most part, learn to associate this process with not having that need for, you know, whatever, self-affirmation or creating something, you know, to feel good about oneself. I mean, I guess, you know, I'll always feel good creating something, but I don't think, you know, if I don't hit the mark a day or, you know, or several days in a row, it's not like a big deal. I don't, you know, I know some friends who play video games, and if they don't like beat the boss or, you know, make some serious progress while they play, they just feel like crap, you know. And I think that goes along with that sort of like societal pressure of like, you need to be something, do something great, or you're nothing and worthless, and, you know, just some garbage, societal garbage, some capitalist. Here I go on the rant of all right, I'm gonna just shut up and get back to focusing on this task at hand. The task at hand, what is that? Trying to make something interesting out of this kind of garbagey sound coming out of the you're not 100% garbage, you know, but just not that interesting. It's not, to me, it sounds like a sort of stock sound that I'm very much used to hearing, and maybe I've just listened to the sounds of Ableton so much that, yeah, I'm going to be a little biased, a little more picky, a little more like, I want it to sound like very strange, but I think we can make it be melodic and sound strange, just have a lot of weird twists and turns dynamically, and so that is just going to require a little bit of automation finesse. I feel like automation plus the right effects is what really makes just any of the most mundane synth type sounds super. Today we are getting our menu. That's nice. The last several sketches that didn't show up, so it's just the mystery of the universe right there. All right, so let's open this up. All right, should have done that in the beginning, but keeping it loose, keeping it impromptu, not trying to really impress anybody, just trying to get out a sketch, you know? It's a real simple. I like the variety we get by. Whoa, I need to put this back in its default positioning. Cool. And let us play with that. It's like sometimes when it's tight like that, and sometimes when it's just really smeared out. Okay, and let's play with it's all sounding very, very clean and computery. It's got that squeaky clean shine to it. I should definitely automate these. I suppose besides making weird sounds here all the time in these sketches, you know, sometimes I do try and steer the sketches in directions that might be also accessible in some ways. You know, I guess some of the beats, and some of the ambient and the melodic stuff, I feel maybe other people could be inspired from those sounds. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Honestly, I mean, I'm inspired by it. I don't think I'll end up going down roads of like making dubstep or, you know, some of these real atypical sounding styles of music these days. Because, I mean, there's a million other YouTubes already doing that kind of thing. No point reinventing the wheel. There's probably other YouTubes doing this thing I'm doing, and it doesn't really even matter. So I think it's kind of like getting a little zipper there, I'm noticing, on these earbuds. I guess the feedback is... So we'll go ahead and delete that. Yeah, it's interesting to note that some knobs, when you turn them with plugins, cause the feedback, and others just don't. I think I need to, let's see, let's delete that and let us turn this back into sync. Do we get the clicks? Sometimes I like the clicks, and sometimes I just need that clean, squeaky clean sound. I think some of the clicks are actually coming from a real tight attack there. Wish we didn't get any clicks on this. It's frustrating. Some plugin makers are really good about programming and smoothers. Fuse Audio Labs, they do a great job. Softtube, wow, such clean sounding, so smooth when you automate and move knobs. Eventide, they make a bunch of reverbs and delays and chorusy type effects that sound really smooth usually. Valhalla, also a great creator of plugins. Some of the best reverbs. I really love the Supermassive. This is a freebie that I feel like everyone should just have this one, because for being free, it has so many things it can do. You've got a lot of modulation type, and then you've got really massive reverbs. All these different algorithms that it comes with. And it has this interesting, like, it's a slightly digital sound to it, not 100% as clean and pristine as, say, the Eventides. But it still does kind of sound very, very smooth. Yeah, you can pretty much make anything into an ambient drone with Valhalla Supermassive. Some of these gigantic Z-Massive presets are just... So yeah, what does this sound like before all our other effects? I do like that there's a mod section. You can really add some weird randomness into the sort of pitch it a little bit with this delay. There's a few freebies by Valhalla DSP. I highly recommend checking those out. Alright, what else can we do? We just call it done? I mean, some people this might just be a whole song, just this kind of generative. Some artists, you know, just like to call it very early on. I think too early. When you could take it, you could do so many more cool sounds and layer stuff in there, but a lot of artists are just working with hardware, and so, you know, they only have so many pieces of gear, and there's that limit there. A lot of people who work in software that try to make sounds, music composed to sound like they were using hardware, they'll limit themselves to kind of create that limited feel. glitch. Not really what I wanted. I think that was just a random audio dropout. Go ahead and just like pull this all the way up. And let me just double check here. Yep, still getting audio coming through. Probably way too loud. Sorry about that if my voice was getting... It's just one of those days. Some days you're just going to be screwing up and the software is going to be buggy and you're going to be just fighting to get anything done. It is nerd world problems, I tell you. Not my favorite part of all of this, and I think it's why a lot of people want to avoid working on computers and laptops, because you do run into these things you got to troubleshoot, and I do feel like in some ways maybe less than the problems you might run in and deal with hardware. Although, don't know how many shows I've been to where, you know, somebody's pedal or module just started screwing up in the middle of a set, and so I'm thinking like, well, sometimes it's shitty on both sides of the coin. Cool. Let's automate this. Do like this piece in a way that it has that sort of classic, I hate to say atypical, but you know, generative modular kind of vibe. But there's also something sort of pretty about that. The unpredictability, I think, is a gorgeous thing. It's like walking through the forest and sort of staring off into all of the growth in the brush, and you just see so many shapes all at once. But everything has a certain almost symmetry to it and its randomness. Yeah, unfortunately we don't get any of the drop-down presets here, so, you know, I would love to be able to just flip between these two. Oh, I guess since this is recording, we're gonna flip through a lot of presets all at once. I feel like if we make this more than a length of, let's just make it 6.1. It's a little happy accident right there. So when we have this recording and we move knobs, it's basically recording all of our knobs here. We do get a little clicks sometimes. I think when it's going through the algorithms, that's when we're getting most of our glitches on this one. So we could just delete the automation for wherever that may be. We've got feedback, mod rate. There's so many and they're all moving. It's like I'm losing delay warp. All right, so we can stop and turn that off, and let's go ahead and, whoops, where am I going? What am I looking for? It's easy to get lost. Let's see, reserved, maybe one of these is, or we can just move it in here and see what we get. Mode, makes sense. All right, so maybe we don't need these reserved ones either. Let's go ahead and delete those, clean that up. It's one way to have presets. You know, when you have a plugin that it doesn't let you recall by MIDI program change or some other way, then you can use this and record different presets into clips. We should probably try some of that, but right now, enjoying this. So delay sync is okay, so we're losing that. Delete automation. Yeah, I think we still getting the glitches. I'm not sure what, you know, and it was a matter of like just playing around with all of these until we figure out which ones are causing the And we could take it a step further and unlink each one and pull them off, you know, so then you get the crisscrossing of, looks like width we don't even do anything with. Huh. So I'm just going to go ahead and delete that one. That's kind of a pointless one to have moving around there. Not moving, I should say. Okay. And this one's just moving on its own. I think it's something to do with one of these other knobs. Okay, already did that one. Everything sounds better off-grid. All right. Clear, huh? Let's delete that one. I feel like we don't need to clear anything. I believe that just sort of kills the tail. I'm kind of enjoying some of the nutsy weird stuff coming out of Valhalla Supermassive. It's for a freebie, it's priceless. And then also filterjam too is a also do love this one. We've used this quite a bit. Let's lock the random and go ahead and 100% that. Getting some clickies there. I think when we switch these, we get the clicks. So we could just lock the random on that. I feel like it wouldn't have been hard for them to build in a little volume ramp in there, so when you switch these, you get just a little volume dip out and back on, kind of. Would have sounded much better, guys, but coders, you know, you're just gonna do whatever. Yeah, this has a nice subtle saturation. Which I think it'll sound better after the Valhalla Supermassive. Alright, so it looks like we've got a good spread of automations that we will pull. And where is this coming from? I feel like I'm not really sure where that one is coming from. Yeah, looks like when I open this up, is that when it's happening? Or no, it's just automatically. Well, let's see. Delayed. Somehow this one got because we had turned this on and we've got. I see. So that could be an issue down the road when we're trying to record clip automations. We're gonna get that. So anytime I turn this on and turn it off, yeah, this is gonna, because this thing is somehow being moved automatically. And then I think the only way I have found to remedy this is to map it. If we don't want this moving around, then we just add a little modulation. We want it to be slightly moving all the time. And so maybe we'll just put a edit value 99. Yeah, just barely moving. And let's see, does this remedy it? It might still try to map that when we. No, see, I think that actually fixed it. Yeah, some plugins knobs have a mind of their own. They're just moved by internal stuff. Just a little reminder to everyone, free, get it, yeah. I oftentimes will put notes. Sadly, with VSTs, you can't rename them unless you group them. All right, so what else can we do in here? I want to play with some of these Yeah, let's just move these around. I kind of like just randomizing some of the algorithms. An operator sounds pretty decent when doing this. We don't get a ton of the clicks. I feel like if operator was a eurorack module, it would sound amazing. It sounds really good just as it is, I feel like, especially when you've got like little nice saturations like this. All right, we definitely gotta get some modulation and automation on this. And let's clean you up. Pull that off just a bit. What happens? Oh, when we give ourselves a little more reverb. Yeah, I kind of like that. And let's duplicate this. And because we've got this random sequence subsequencer thing, it's going to be giving us different results for each of these, which is a great thing. Let's try some different. Yeah, I think I want to just sort of paint in haphazardly different. Yeah, lots of timbres happening there. I like this unpredictable spread of timbres. Probably could do it to this original one too. And I'm thinking we don't need these two separate reverbs. We can group this, and we'll call this Eurohack. That is what we're doing here. This is just sounding like a hacked out Eurorack sound. If we wanted to try to be really ridiculously authentic, you know, at least we would go for then say Softube's Eurorack or the VCV rack plugin, VCVST. So deep. Or even Reactor blocks sound amazing. All right, where was I going before? Blathering on. Eurohack effects. Yeah, and if we add another one of these even, I mean, get some really nice, interesting stacking sounds. I feel like we could push the... Well, so basically these have identical automations, and I think to remedy that we would pull the start of each of them off a little bit, and that is the best way so that when we hit start on these two at the same time, we don't get the exact same sounding effects coming out of all these. So let's just pull that over there. Did not want to do that. Did not pull this out sort of randomly. We also could do some kind of trickery with follow actions to make this start one kind of wait a little while and then jump to this, so we have a bit of a delay between these two. But I do think the best way is to just pull our start points. It's a bit of work. And maybe we don't need to pull the start points of all of them, just some of them. So let's see, show automation and a link pull, and then we can make this one a different length. Cool. So now we don't have the identical loops happening between here and here. So we'll get a little bit more variety there. Cool. Do we have, yeah, we have this one automating. Do we want this attack automating? Maybe we want to add in some kind of haphazardous on-off switch for this MIDI note pitch shifting. We can also tweak the probabilities of this, but you know, considering all the randomness here, I'm thinking we can also make the timing off a little more. I'm thinking 8 T notes, triplets, and let's pull this in. All right, so sins only, and let's sidechain that. So now we got our effects here, and we can drop a dummy clip. Just make sure my volume levels are definitely want to get these sort of separated out a little bit in terms of and there's probably another technique that I'm not thinking of where we could just duplicate these and easily get the automation lanes to start and sync at different points. Obviously, the easiest way is to, you know, if you're just opening up the project, you would just kind of put in a random number here, and then so that's already going to offset our starting points. Let us see here. That is a good. I'm curious if I. It looks like no matter where when we hit play on the clip is when it's going to start. So if we start this from 0, I don't think it matters. But I think if we hit play on the clip and then we offset this, so we do it in that order. And so you can see as we pull this, we got this this white track, you know, jumping around like crazy. That means it's trying to recalculate. So as long as we pull these off, and I think to offset the timing of them, we could also didn't need this, put some clips here and do the follow action thing, and we can make the lengths of the follow action different for each of these. And let's do legato and see what we get. I'm kind of curious about this. And we will do other. And I only want these, yeah, to be shorter. Oh, it looks like we didn't get, well, we'll have it, yeah, play other. With 2 clips, it's just they're gonna go back and forth if you choose other. And we want this to be pretty short. I was always curious if we didn't have legato set on this, and we did have legato set on this, do we then get the same exact restart point? And it kind of looks like we do, so we need to set them both to have legato, which is a little... Yeah, okay, so if they're both set to legato, then they're going to be... The playback head is going to not reset each time it jumps back to this clip. So you'll see it'll start here, and then it's going to start somewhere over here, and then... Okay, so as long as these two have a different follow action length before they jump back, we're going to be getting a lot more randomness between these two. Okay, so I could... So really doing this means we don't have to go in and automatically readjust the lengths and start points of all our automations. So that's an interesting little trick to keep in mind for down the road. So go ahead and turn that on, and so if I duplicate this and then I give this a follow action of 3, and they're both set to legato mode. And maybe I'll set this one to 36 plus 36, so we get the real high notes off of this one. And we'll change this one up a little bit too to have a high. So too much reverb sometimes. Can you have too much reverb ever? Maybe. Cool. So maybe I'm going to see what happens if this. Maybe it won't be as muddy with all of these automating. And perhaps I'll see what happens when we turn this off. Perhaps it will also help, because I'm getting a lot of the sound from this effect in my ears. And trusty old Tremolo to the rescue. I'll put that before the green delay. So for each one of these, we'll give it a different rate. I do know this. If they all have the exact same rate, when you restart the project, they all start kind of moving at that same rate at the same time. So if you pull off their rates a little bit, and you can also dial in using decimal places, very different, but subtly different rates. And I do know that if it's set to rate or not sync, that depending on how long you have just been sitting there with it open, these things will just kind of run. They just run in the background. So they have their own sort of generative quality in that way. Just interesting things to think about. I feel like these did not get set up properly. And we could also set this to maybe every 2 times it plays again. And so 2 versus 1. I feel like the follow action system in Live 11 is so much more intuitive than this ratio system, which I didn't understand for the longest time. Cool. Now I'm going to set up an interesting situation. Generative situation, I guess. I like to remove these stop buttons also. I feel like they just look cluttery. I'm a very aesthetic-minded artist, I guess. So we'll have this one be the start. Like, play me. It's a good thing to say. And then we're going to have a couple of clips here. We'll call this effects 1, effects 2, and effects 3. So play me is going to be set up as a follow action to play any other than itself, and these are not going to have any follow actions at all. So when we hit play me, it just jumps to a random one and stops. So I'm going to have a series of effects racks here. We'll call this effects 1. Actually, let's go ahead and get our wet and dry in there. Might as well. And we will, let's call this effects 1. Oops, effects 1. Effects 2. And effects 3. And now I'm realizing that I needed to maybe set things up slightly different to make less work for myself. And there may be a faster way to actually do it. So we're going to get rid of effects 2 and 3 for now. Hit play on effects 1. Show modulation. I'm just gonna draw on a little dot there. We'll have this, maybe we'll have this fade up. And then effects 2 modulation will be down like so. And effects 3. Whoops, didn't choose the correct one. Effects 3, modulation down. Okay. And so for effects 2, I will turn off effects 1, turn on effects 2. I know there's a much easier way of setting this up in Max for Live, always usually the case. So now here we have effects 2 on and effects 3. We'll do the same thing. We'll turn this off here and then make effects 3 fade on and just stay looped fading on. Okay, so now when we hit play me, it jumps to one of these cases, and we could really do anything we want inside of here. We could we've got the reverb, you know, maybe we want another and the grain delay down, maybe a resonator. And we'll keep this at C. I think that's kind of our base. There we go. So it's a little bit more melodic. Obviously, we want to automate everything, but for now, we're just setting this up to kind of show off this feature. And so basically, when you hit play here, you get a different. You could call each one of these an algorithm if you wanted to, a different setup, a different style of processing and effects. And if you have a few of these set up, and you get, well, let's see, we'll duplicate this. We'll call this effects 2. Effects lane 1. Eurorack effects. Eurorack lane effects 2. And let's see, we'll pull from here, from effects lane 1. And in here we'll make, we'll add a, get rid of that. Have it set a different effects inside of each one. And we'll add some time modulation there. It takes a bit of setup to get this to do the right thing. You know, maybe effects 3 will just be nothing. We'll just have that be And I'm not really obviously spending a lot of time doing, you know, setting these effects things up, but you could, you know, have 3 of these in a row, and so each time you hit play here, you get a different assortment. You get like a different sequence, and so that way you end up, you know, let's get 3 of these. So basically 3 is whatever, 3 to the 3rd power, I guess. So this could be set at 1, and this could be either 1, 2, and 3. This could be either 1, 2, and 3. This could be set at 2. You know, you get the point. You get a lot of variety with 3 of these. And it's different each and every time. So for generative stuff, you end up with a really cool potential of a lot of different sounds with each play. Yeah, it's a very, very powerful way to work generatively. Right, I like to be a little type A sometimes with my coloring. So yeah, X3. We could over here. We could put, you know, I'm just thinking of sort of obvious. Probably need to automate this just a wee bit. All right, good enough for now. And let's turn on effects 2 with lane 1. Are we routing this properly? It looks like we're not getting sound through here. We want to come from effects lane 2. We were pulling from itself, so that doesn't work. And then we want to set these all to send only, because otherwise we're hearing all 3 of these stacking at once. And maybe that's what you want, but so effects 1 is cool. Let's turn on effects lane 2 in here. We're getting these now. And I have several projects where I have lots of lanes like this set up, and then I'll be able then to just open it up and just drag in those lanes and start working from there. It's good to have a lot of different projects that you can just pull stuff from. Like if we save this, we could even pull in these 3 back in on itself and, you know, use those again if we wanted to. Obviously easier to just duplicate it here, but lots of ways to do the same thing. I'm in this lane. Well, I wanted to be over here. And furthermore, I wanted maybe a different effect here anyway. Corpus can sound so obvious as an effect, but then once you start tweaking it and automating it, you get all kinds of cool stuff coming out of it. And then effects 3. Perhaps just a plain reverb. Effects lane 1 over here. Maybe we'll do a 7th up. And an auto pan to kind of space that one out a little bit. One crazy trick I have messed with before is if we have an effect rack with 2 tremolos, one on each one, and we set one of those to normal, it basically makes a dry and a wet. We need the rate to be exactly the same. So I'm going to go ahead and copy this over, turn off the invert. And so right now they're out of sync because I've copied and pasted them at different times. If I delete this and hit undo, now they are instantiated back in at the exact same time. And so we have audio coming through this every now and then and a different audio coming through this. And it's really easy to hear if we say add a dramatic effect. Also, too, if we boost the shape to get more of an on-off. Now let's turn this off because I think it's not so obvious. Yeah, you can hear it sort of jumping between the two. Yeah, jumping between this one, and then it'll jump back to this one. So that's kind of an interesting play with the tremolo. It's not a very common thing at all to do. You could even, you know, go levels deeper with multiples of these, and you have to have the rates. It gets really complicated. Save that for a rainy day. But once you set it up once, it's you know, pretty easy to. Okay, so we've got this affected here already. What else can we add in there? Maybe just subtle. Just, I don't like a lot of erosion, especially when erosion is not being automated. It sounds so just this obvious type of effect that you hear all the time. Let's do a resonator in this one and have it way, way down. I like to just drag these. If you pull it way, way down, you almost get a spring reverb. Okay, and over here we have this set to 12 up. Yep, and then what's going on in here? We don't have anything in here. What should we add? We'll just get weird. Oh. I always drag in the vinyl distortion when I really wanted a vocoder. I don't know why it jumps like this. Kind of a little buggy behavior there, if you ask me. So, yeah, let's hit play here. Some dramatic results because I've got, you know, it's going to be different every time though. And we could automate some of these, not automate, but like follow actions. Follow actions. And if we want to make it, you know, 50-50 wet on all of these effects, you know, you could group all of these at once into one of these wet and dry racks. And that way we can control the amount of. And we could set the wet and dry in each one of those. There's other ways we could have it be randomly wet and dry. Much more complicated routing type of ways. Yeah, it seems like the more, you know, these effects we add, like ×3, it's like the crazier it can end up sounding, the more departed from the original. So if we just wet and dry all 3 of them at once, that means, yeah, a little more of the original comes through, and I think a reverb right at the very end of it could be, yeah, it's a bit dramatic. I didn't really spend all the time I should have setting it up. And again, as I was jumping around here, we could set these to other and or play again also here. For 3, play again. Let's see. For every 4 times it'll play again, and 1 time it might not. And so let's. Maybe we'll set all these to legato mode for any automations I've got going on in there. In fact, we can just select all these and make them legato. And so this way, you know, we every now and then get a switch of so we'll make these play again every 4, ratio 4:1. Play other. So, but if we don't have these set to play other, or any follow actions for that matter, the benefit of just having these sort of stay on a static thing is that, you know, you get a certain sound that's different each and every time. And we can use this same effect for setting up these as well. We could have a start clip. Play me. You could have a start clip here, and then it could jump to any number of configurations. We could even have different instruments where we have grouped this, and we have different, as many instruments as we want here, and using the chain, we can basically spread them out, and we could make each clip turn on, you know, either modulating or automating this way, turn on a different instrument in here. And we could do that for any number of these. You could imagine the crazy possibilities of ultimate randomness that you could achieve. So for generative music in Ableton, this is one of the best ways I feel. And for live sets, you know, you could have sections grouped. This could be song 1, and then you could, you know, have any number of songs down the line, and you just, you know, push play on the master, you know. And this is how I've done it. I've had multiples of these, and you can just fade things in and out as you go in a live performance setup. But with each time you play it, it's a different setup, which is nice because it doesn't get boring as easily. You've got a lot more variety happening. So I love these ideas of generative randomness. And of course, using some of the feedbacking techniques we have used in some of the other sets, can get a lot more crazy stuff happening between some of these effects layers. I mean, really, there's no end to it. There's just no end to it. It is mind-boggling, the cool stuff you can do. It doesn't even require Max for Live, for that matter. I know a lot of people who are very intimidated by Max for Live, and just honestly, I've had a lot of crashes with it also. So I tend to be very sparing on when I like to use it. The LFOs, the mapping from LFOs or envelopes to knobs, I've had problems with crashes, I think, with those. The convolution plugin, I've also had a lot of crashes. So I'm you know, a little shell-shocked in some ways of using Max for Live. I'm sure it'll get better down the road, and maybe with 11 it'll be a lot more stable, but not banking on it. Cool. So now we have more of a random, just sort of animated random effects. And we might increase this to get a little less jumping around. But still, it's all kind of a random, it's randomly picking with each play, you know, 8 times it's, you know, gonna play this versus maybe just once it'll do, you know, it's a, we set this higher or lower, and we could have different numbers here. So at least this way it's a bit more interesting. I'm often curious, what will it sound like without any of the VSTs in there? For those of you who don't have these VSTs, we'll go ahead and remove that. We didn't want that one on anyway. Honestly, not bad, because we're getting so much of the effects here. This one is routing from Eurorack, yep. And then this one should be routing from effects lane 1. And this from effects lane 2. We could have as many of these in a row as we wanted. I mean, it could really get crazy. The more the merrier. 4, we just have to make sure we reroute this from 3. And hit start there. Always just dump this reverb on the master here. We can do anything we want. That's the thing I love about this. And let's just do crazy 5. Obviously, you know, we will run out of CPU at some point, but the Ableton effects are really lightweight until you start doing weird feedback. I feel like we were getting way too much sound, and this is why I needed to turn that one into... So let's pull here from effects 4. And I like to use these little less than, greater than signs to kind of show the flow. I'm hearing some glitches, and I think it's coming from this. Yeah, we don't really need that. So again, we can take something fairly boring, like this, and just mingle it up pretty quickly. And as these are changing it up, as these switch around, we get all kinds of cool overlappings of effects. Might be some dramatic differences in there. We can also change the lengths on these to be a little more odd from each other. So right now they're all sort of switching to the measure, which might sound more might make more sense sonically in some respect. Cool. So I think I'm good with this so far. It's, you know, not the most interesting sounding thing we've done in the end, but it has some concepts in here with this that are incredibly powerful for creating a lot of variety and a lot of interesting generative randomness. certainly for any of these lanes, we could just drop in other effects beyond, you know, what's firing off inside of here. And I wanted to try one last thing. So pulling this out here, making a duplicate, and getting rid of the instrument stuff inside of it. We've got this supermassive. And this are all being automated. So I wanted to drop this in somewhere here. Call this final hack effects. Hit play there, and we will pull audio from here. I'm also going to put my reverb in on this one. So this way we can keep the automations from those effects, that automations we made over here, instead of having to automate it all over again. Now, I will copy this gate. It's already kind of set up. And let's pull it over here. Make sure we're pulling audio from Eurorack 5. And set this one to output only to send. Now we get these nutty VSTs. I think I'll move the filterjam over here. Cool. A little more interesting. Obviously, we could keep going down the line and just adding more and more lanes of randomness. It looks like we're getting all kinds of jumps. I think the CPUs are like too much, trying to record all the video and playback video, and yeah. There comes a point where your computer just says no, no more. So anyway, I'm gonna let this just play out for a little bit, and until next time.